Very nice. And I believe you have some slides for us on bycatch as well. Excellent.
So I hope you enjoyed the film. I think for me, the benefit of showing this film around is that people can realize how this sort of situation is not something far from our reality. It's not some just distant phenomenon that has nothing to do with the way we live. So it may change if this continues, and if we are not able to contribute to mitigate this sort of situation, we need to consider that our lives will also have to change. And this is quite obvious example of that in the future if we don't take action. So I would also seize the opportunity to just going briefly through the team of bycatch in ACCOBAMS. So as I told you before, this is an international agreement that has been established under the Convention for Migratory Species and Wild Animals, and the purpose is to reduce threats posed to cetaceans, in particular by improving the knowledge about these animals and the specific threats they face. The ACCOBAMS area, I explained that before, it covers Mediterranean Black Sea and the adjacent Atlantic area. It's composed of 24 countries, and an extension has been decided to cover all the exclusive economic zone of Spain and Portugal, but it's still not implemented. And there is this huge collaboration with the corresponding regional fisheries management organization for the same geographical area, which is GFCM, and there is a memorandum that has been signed formalizing a practical collaboration that has been there for a long, long time. And we have been developing joint projects aiming at mitigating such interactions. And so we started by developing a standardized methodology for data collection so that we can compare data collected, which is a basic thing in terms of evaluating the extent of such situation. And coming back to this bycatch phenomenon, although there has been a ban imposed to GFCM countries long ago, we know that these fishing nets are still illegally used, and we have the last 10 years following this ban, we know that there has been a decrease of bycatch, but strandings still occur due to entanglements in these nets. So there is this huge problem, how to assess cetacean incidental catches. As I said, non-standardized methods make this task very, very difficult, and in terms of comparing the results. So a regional review on incidental catches was also prepared with the GFCM. In terms of the data, there was this first attempt to estimate the extent of bycatch in 2014, and the total number, we are talking now about the Black Sea, where this bycatch incident is a very huge and serious problem. And the total number of porpoises taken may be in excess of 20,000, also including some dolphins. The total number of dolphins taken per year may be at around 14,000 animals. And of course there is a precaution which is advised in terms of this estimation regarding the number of boats operating in the Black Sea. There was this EU-funded SYNOPS project, which allowed also to make this onboard monitoring and interviews. So we had this huge work that was composed of interviews conducted in Bulgaria, Romania, Ukraine, and Turkey, and 78% of interviews bycatch was reported, which is quite huge. and 41% of respondents reported cetacean bycatch. So in terms of the species, the conclusion is that the most caught species is the arbor porpoise, which is always present, and bottlenose dolphins are present in 10% of the cases. The fishing gears that most capture these cetaceans are mostly gillnets, but also persine and trawling. There were observers in 18 cruises, most in Bulgaria and Romania, and the huge problematic situation is because of the turbot fishery, because turbot is a highly commercial, very valued species in Black Sea, and of course there is an overlap between the distribution of cetaceans, arbor porpoise in particular, and the fishing season. So in conclusion, 79% gillnet holes by caught harbor porpoises, and so you have the average bycatch per hole, and the maximum bycatch of porpoise per hole, 28, which is a very high number, and by kilometer of net. These are very worrying, this is a very worrying scenario. So ACCOBAMS also had this funded project on monitoring and mitigation of bycatch Bulgarian waters. So the goal it is to continue to apply or to test or to make trials in terms of understanding which devices might reduce the levels of bycatch, and these are called the pingers. 6 fishing vessels agreed to participate in such trials in bottom-set gillnets used for turbot fishing, and observers also monitored on board 3 fishing vessels and provided bycatch data. In the spring campaign, also 4 of these 6 vessels operated and fished turbot. So in total, this was the length, 82,000 meters of bottom-set gillnets were monitored, and 13 is not species, but 13 Black Sea cetaceans were found in mainly 3 species, mainly common dolphins, bottlenose dolphin only 1, but the major species was arbor porpoise and an unidentified species. So there is also evidence about calving season for the Black Sea species, as you can see in the image provided by a pregnant female and a lactating one. This is the fetus. That was also a picture which is a very sad one, but that's the reality. And also thanks to the experts and the scientists of ACCOBAMS, we have also collected this sort of information coming from the outcomes of the necropsies. We also have important training of our experts, so to understand what causes the death of cetaceans coming from the different human activities. So this is the situation. Of course, is not a beautiful one, but we are confident, and the good news is that, as I say, it is a hotspot of biodiversity and a very crucial habitat for cetaceans, but the Mediterranean and Black Seas also count with a human, very strong human network committed to work together and to exchange, even despite the lack of appropriate means and very often, sadly, the lack of financing and of funds. So they are disposed of collaborating and understanding the ways how to work together. And the film is a very good example of that fishers and working closely and with the stakeholders that strive for their economic life and income, they work together so to understand how we can make this mitigate such situation instead of having a lose-lose situation for everybody. So that's our aim and that's our mandate and our purpose. Thank you so much.